Welcome back. Are you ready for your next lesson in Aikido? Great. I'm here to teach you the basics of ukemi. The uke in Aikido is the person who receives a pin or a fall. So for today's lesson, what we're going to focus on is our groundwork. We're going to be paying attention to our body's relationship to the ground, moving onto and off of the ground so that you can do your Aikido techniques comfortably and safely. So let's begin. I want to begin at ground level in a position that we call Seiza. I'll show you a Seiza from two different angles. Seiza is a seated, kneeling, upright posture. And if you can see my feet, the preferred way to position yourself in Seiza is with your feet together, heels together, and up on your toes. From this position, if my knees will allow it, I can sit right down on my heels. Now, our knees do not always allow this, which means that sometimes you'll see people kneeling a bit more upright or with a pillow under their hips or with their toes down like so. This position is never required. What it does, however, is get your back in a nice straight position with your body weight over your hips so that when it's time to move, you'll keep your body weight centered over your hips. So from our Seiza kneeling position, we practice moving on our knees. This movement is called Shikko, knee walking. I'll show you how to do Shikko walking. I turn my hips from side to side to take small steps. I'll learn to take them bigger over time. This is a basic Shikko walk. I'm going to turn my body. As you can see, from my hips to my knees, it makes kind of a V shape. That V shape is also made by my lower legs. And as I move in a Shikko walk, I keep that shape pretty consistent throughout. I'll tilt from side to side. With my hands at my hips, you can see that I'm repeating that 45-degree angle that you see in your Hanmi. And at a quicker pace, the Shikko walking can look like this. It's important in the beginning stages that I try to keep my feet together. If I don't keep my feet together, you'll see something like this. My left hip advances forward, but my right hip stays behind and my right foot stays behind. I'll end up with a wrenching action as I try to bring that back into place. And what we want is for your body to stay unified. We don't want any one body part getting left behind or wrenched. Therefore, when I take a step forward, I want my right hip and my left hip to rotate around the center point. That's how we do Shikko walking. Now, Shikko walking can be a bit tough on the knees. It can be tiring. You'll have to listen to your own body to tell you what degree of this movement you're ready to do. But as you practice it, you'll find that you're able to move much more freely from the hips, which is where your center of gravity is. Okay, second ukemi lesson. I want to work fully on the ground now. So you can practice this as well. This is our basic backward fall, which is not truly a fall backwards on your back. This puts too much pressure on my tailbone and spine and at risk to my neck. Instead, it's a fall to the side. So if you were to sit in this position, square with knees together, and rock one knee down, hands in your center, you'll be in the right position for practicing this. Here's the basic backward rocking drill I would like you to practice. With my hands together, making somewhat of a triangle, I want to move both hands back. I don't want to lean very much on my hands, but I do want to have them there for support and to feel the ground. I want to rock backwards, looking in towards my center until one hand and one foot are up, but my other arm and other leg remain on the ground. So this is our basic backward rocking exercise. 1, 2. 1, 2. I'll switch to the other side while I make a couple points. So not square, tips toward the side, hands pointed towards one another, head looking towards the center. I don't want any part of my body to take all the shock of my body falling down. So I don't want to hit an elbow, and I don't want to hit a shoulder. I want everything to be as round as it can be as I spread out that impact. I want to feel the floor move from the outside of my hand to the outside of my forearm to the outside of my upper arm, and now my whole right side is in contact with the floor, other than my head. So here's our basic backward rocking exercise. 1, 2. 1, 2. Another thing to watch out for, and the reason why we point our hands together. The body will have a tendency to rotate outward and go straight back. This is a hard fall. If I allow my hands to come too far apart, this is what will happen. This arm will go up into the air, and now I'm headed towards my back. So at first, keep your hands in a more or less triangle position. Make sure one is up and one is down. In time, and maybe today, you don't have to contact the ground with your hands. You can simply use the side of your body to rock and roll. That will be the next level of this exercise. This is the second groundwork I would like you to do. I would like you to practice shifting from this one leg fold seated position into a kneeling position. I'm keeping my hands in the same rounded position that I used earlier. I don't want too much weight on my hands. And I also don't want to have any bumps as I come back down to my hip. I want to rock partly onto my hand, partly onto the side of my leg, so that I can feel the ground shift. Eventually, you won't need your hand. You'll do all of this. I'll change sides. I'm stronger on one side. You'll do all of this from shifting the weight of your hips. Both of my legs are active. My foot is active. My core is active. This is a very important exercise, and don't be surprised if at first you find it difficult and you really want to use the support of your hands. The more you practice this, the more you'll strengthen those oblique muscles that you use to perform a safe fall. Fourth exercise, and the last one for today. From this kneeling position, remember I'm not straight at attention here. This is as if I've just performed a Shikko walk. My legs are at almost a 90-degree angle, like a V. And one is up. I want to practice getting up and down from standing. The key here is that, again, I keep my weight shift even. A common and more careless way to stand up would be to place all your weight on one foot and launch up onto it. I can do that. It works. I cannot necessarily do that same thing safely and without hurting my body in reverse on the way down. I should not launch everything onto that other side. So on the way up and on the way down, Hanmi stance, sink lower and lower, reposition my feet if I need to, keeping my center centered until I can get onto one knee without making a bump. Same thing as I get up. I want my weight on both feet as long as I can. I'm going to shift to this side just so that you might see my toe. I prefer to keep my toe active. This helps me. So as I begin to go down, I'm pressing into both feet. When my heel starts to raise up, that's fine. I might shift my foot more. I'm pressing into my toe until my knee makes contact. This is not what everyone does. I would encourage you to try it if it's not causing you any pain or discomfort. You'll also see people fold their toe under. As long as you're making a smooth weight shift, whether your toes are folded or not, you should have good ukemi. The ultimate goal of these 4 exercises is that when you're on the mat and you're called upon to take a fall so that we can train Aikido together, you will be able to safely take a step back, sink down to the mat, absorb all the weight onto one side, and still be protecting your head. So this would be a basic Aikido backward fall that you can safely execute on the mat with a few turns at these ukemi practices. I would step back, lower to my knee, lower to my side, rock backwards, and then reverse it all to get back up. So when I first started training Aikido, I was looking for a practice that I could do for a long time. I didn't want to have to stop when I reached my 30s or my 40s or my 50s. And when I look at the faces of the old teachers and I see the long white beard, it encourages me that this is a practice that is effective at training the body and continuing through the lifespan. And that's the experience I want you to have with your ukemi practice. Domo arigato.